Hello, everyone, and welcome for the second time TCMR. I'm RJ, one of the four co-hosts. I'll try to be funny, maybe not succeed at that, but that's about it for me. And now introducing another co-host, Milo.
Yo, what up? I'm Milo. I'm the fat, lazy Samoan of the group. Nothing really special about me except Samoan. Okay, back to you, RJ.
Alright, so today's topics could be something pretty talked about, I feel as though. Did God of War deserve Game of the Year 2022? What do you think about that?
It's alright. It kind of came close with Elden Ring jumping in, though.
Yeah, I'd agree. I feel like it could have gone both ways, half-half. They're both pretty good games. Honestly, story-wise, God of War definitely had a more hooking story, definitely brought you in more, especially with the continuation of a much-loved series.
Yeah.
But personally, I gotta say, Elden Ring definitely had the better combat. And it really shows how much the combat really shows how much care they put into developing Elden Ring. Because you
Yeah.
don't need just a story to define a game. You could use combat, obviously, details, or the map itself, of course. But
True.
I do
True.
feel that God of War Ragnarok does excel on graphics. But as I said, it could go both ways. What are your input on that?
Yeah, it probably could go both ways.
And not just that, but with Elden Ring, they really they showed like evolution, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
It was a lot it was a lot better than previous games, although I do think some previous games had like certain parts of it that were more defining.
Yeah.
But I'd I'd have to say Elden Ring deserved Game of the Year, but when you start to look at what God of War Ragnarok really had, it just I don't know. It's a little hard to say. They're both pretty even.
Yeah. Now, what I do want to, another topic I want to talk about is who might win this next Game of the Year award. Because they've been coming out with out with a lot of recent games lately, and some of them have been looking pretty damn good.
I gotta agree. I gotta agree.
Like most recently, this new Space Marine game. I played the original and I loved it on the Xbox 360, but it's been so long. They might have changed it up a whole bunch, changed up the combat, changed up the style of it. I know they've changed up the graphics. It looks a lot better.
Yeah. But back to our main topic here. I to furthermore speak on the side of Elden Ring. Not only does it excel, it also excels in movement too. By movement, I mean just like actions you can do while like walking or something. You get that?
Yeah.
And
It was. I think it was the same for almost all the Elden Ring games, wasn't it?
yeah, and that's something they really did good on. They also very much improved over time. I feel
Yeah.
how but how with God of War Ragnarok and God of War 2018, it's basically the same premise. But
Yeah.
in all fairness, though,
One of the things I've been hating lately is the way they make games online, or uh, make it to where there's multiple people in one game. Now, in some criteria of a game, I'd allow it, or some whatever kind of game. But in Elden Ring, it doesn't really fit because originally it was a single player game, just like Fallout Fallout 76. Fallout used to be a single player game that you could play by yourself and enjoy, but now it's a online multiplayer, and now there's sweats and stuff like that that constantly fuck you over whenever you're doing your own business.
Yeah, right. Like the decision to make Elden Ring Online was an interesting decision. Now I can't really talk on that, but I will say I feel like Elden Ring, when it was made, it was a single player, and it should have stayed a single player.
Yeah. And
Because you got,
honestly, I have a feeling if the creators of God of War continue to make more God of War games, I'm seriously starting to think that they might make an online version.
I mean, we don't know though. That's the problem. But well, let's dive into that a little bit. I mean, there isn't really main topic. Let's split off the main topic a little. Let's say they were to make it online. How do you think that'd work?
It might be the same as Elden Ring, just instead of uh it being basically Elden Ring, you'd still have some of the same bosses or lower tier bosses of God of War. You being like maybe a descendant of the main character of God of War.
Yeah, I could see that. But
And and as you level up and continue to play the game, you get more and more of his abilities.
mhm. I'd say now going back to the main topic of Elden Ring's online. The moment, as previously said, the moment it was created when it was a single player, it should have stayed a single player because by making it like that, you got all these people, you got all these people that you play with and everything. Is for all you know, those people have no lives and spend 2 billion hours on a year on this game.
I
And
know that's
so,
the thing. Is it's cool that they added on the ability to play with your friends. But what if those new players that are just now starting on Elden Ring and don't really know the way it works? And then there's these other players that have been playing for that have played every single Elden Ring ever released.
or well, not a Dark Souls game,
Yeah,
but speaking, that is pretty interesting. They added into it, and if anything, you could say that for God of War Ragnarok being a single, single game, it's a little better in that factor.
yeah,
But another thing I really enjoy about Elden Ring is the open world.
yeah,
The open world is amazing. It's crazy how big it is, how humongous it is.
true, true. And honestly, I like that they're starting to add a lot more games with open world, just like the new Halo Infinite campaign.
Uh, but that's about all I got to say about Elden Ring right now. What do you have to what comments do you have to put onto God of War Ragnarok right now? So this is going to be your own section.
Now, God of War was a good game in general. It had good graphics, good story, because they continued on the same story instead of changing it up. They improved on the fighting or playing of the game a lot more, added more stuff to it, introduced a few new gods like Thor and others, but it came really close to Elden Ring. I honestly liked Elden Ring a lot because I've played Elden Ring ever since I was a little kid. I never really played God of War that much. So I'm more attached to Elden Ring than God of War, but it was a good game.
Yeah. Just to correct you there, Elden Ring is technically part of Dark Souls. I don't really know. I don't know that much about that. But I will say another good thing.
I've heard a lot about Dark Souls, and though they kind of have the same kind of way of telling a story, the way you fight in the games are on completely opposite ends of the scale. One is you can choose whether to take it slow or fast. You can be great at one thing and not great in the other. But on Dark Souls, it's more of you gotta move fast and hit hard for
Yeah.
you to really do anything. In Elden Ring, it's always been you can do these abilities or these abilities, and you can learn to do them whether you want them or not.
Mhm.
And you can use, and each ability had different effects on different things, like using lightning magic drained people's mana. Using ice drained their stamina and fire health. So
Yeah.
on and so on. But with
So
Elden Ring, it's more you use these abilities to buff yourself and debuff your enemy, so that way you can hit them in like one strike.
I'd have to say though, God of War Ragnarok. It wasn't obviously combat movement. We already went over that. It wasn't as good, but at the same time, they did. In my opinion, they improved combat by a great factor in the 2018.
True.
And not just that too, and obviously the graphics, but the story in general. I gotta say, 2018 Atreus was a little shit. I'm just saying this right now. In fact, I'm letting
Yeah.
everyone be known. In my opinion, 2018 Atreus was a little shit.
He is. He's an asshole, and I would have kicked his ass if
Oh,
I was.
completely. He's
I was
completely annoying and
yeah,
everything.
he's
But
an asshole.
in God of War Ragnarok, it shows that not only is he teen or basically an adult now, or a young adult, as one could say, but he's not an annoying little shit anymore, which I found that very enjoyable, personally.
Yes, he's
And
grown up a lot since the last couple games.
and originally when I realized you could play as him, I was like, I'm not so sure. In 2018, he wasn't that good. But when I got to the part where you get to play as him and you get to do all this crazy stuff, his adventure he goes on, I really found out. Well, he's really improved a lot. They really fixed him from 2018. I feel,
Yeah,
and they definitely improved on the character. The character definitely had his. It's hard to say, but the character he had a major upgrade from his
yeah,
past 2018
yeah,
self,
major.
and it shows how characters can change between two different games.
Yeah,
Like a good example of this was, in some ways, at the beginning of Red Dead Redemption 2, John Marston was a little shit. But here we are
true.
with Red Dead Redemption 1, and he's amazing.
True.
But that's what I got to say about Atreus. What do you think about Atreus?
He did. He used to be a little shit. He's improved a little bit, but not so much to where he's still to where he's improved on being a little asshole.
Mhm. So, speaking on the Atreus factor and the Kratos factor, we should probably speak about how the story excels, since I have mentioned that. So,
Yeah.
we should definitely talk about the father son relationship, and I feel like maybe you could touch a little about that topic.
it has grown a lot since some of the other games, and I like how he revealed to his son that he's actually a Roman god himself. Kind of ironic how he is a god, yet he's hunting the others.
Yeah. But it also seems to be the main point of almost every game.
Yeah,
But it also reflects off of stories of the Greek gods, Vikings gods, all
all
the stuff.
hunting each other
It's
and killing each
yeah,
other. Yeah,
it's just one big and one big world too. But to
yeah,
touch on the father son stuff, it improved from his the father of Atreus in the first game, Kratos, not really being a father in the first half of the game, but you get to the second half and he starts showing that he has morality left.
yeah,
He starts to gain respect for his son, starts to act more like a father. And where this excels in God of War Ragnarok is the fact that Atreus isn't a little more, and Kratos is just becoming an even older man. And Kratos has to learn to stay in that father figure area and to be there for Atreus when he really needs him.
yeah, yeah.
And how when Atreus was going on this path, could have chosen to stay with Odin, but after all this time, Kratos finally being there for Atreus, Atreus chose that he was not going to be with Odin, but instead Kratos, which is a really touching part of the story, which really makes the game just better, in my opinion. And that's something in the story that really shows uh not only Kratos' growth, but also Atreus's through God of War 2018 to God of War Ragnarok. What do you have to think about
Yeah.
that?
It was a pretty good transition.
Mm-hmm.
How well the games continued the story.
Yeah, I agree. And to impact more of the story, I want to talk about the inclusion of Thor and Odin in this game. You want to touch on that?
Honestly, I've 1 second. I got
First, I'll let you do that, and I will continue on that. Whenever you come back, I'll let you continue. But in what I like, viewers, about adding Thor and Odin, I mean, we already suspected Thor was going to be there, obviously. But what I like about the inclusion of Thor and Odin is how it shows them. It shows Odin's this old, lying, medieval a-hole, while Thor is just this drunken, broken down man who, after so long, has been deceived by Odin. And
hello. The Fat Samoan is back.
but it really shows that. And Milo, would you like to touch on what you think about Thor and Odin and how they helped or did not help the game? What would you have to think about that?
Honestly, with the whole going around killing gods, it did help the game because we were running out, since they had already killed a lot of Viking gods already. Now I wish they could have added in Loki,
Mm-hmm.
the trickster god from
Here's this.
the
Sorry to
Viking
interrupt.
tales. It would have been an interesting battle,
Sorry to interrupt.
since Loki uses his godly magic to deceive people. So would have been an interesting fight.
We actually see Loki mentioned in God of War Ragnarok. Odin states that Atreus is Loki,
Hmm.
which I found
So
very
that was
interesting.
Loki has been tricking the main character from almost all the games.
So, well, what it is they Odin called Atreus Loki, and I didn't originally understand this, but in old mythology, here's something: Thor hits I forgot his name, the giant snake, so hard that he actually travels back in time, right?
Yeah.
Well, we see Atreus. I forgot in what part of the game. I'll say like around middle, a little closer to the end part. We see
Hmm.
Atreus find a snake that he helps. And something I'd like to think is I'm not so sure about this. I'm pretty sure this is just a theory I found. But that snake was, I think his name is Jormungandr, the snake, the
Yeah.
giant snake. And that would implement on him actually being Loki. Because Loki was
Yeah.
the father in many ways of Jormungandr, which I
Yeah.
hope I'm saying that right. And in a way, a father could be interpreted as, like, you came out of his nuts, or that is your father figure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Okay. I think we might have to end the podcast a little short today.
mm, so, since we gotta end it a little short today, what's your? Did you to finish off the topic? Do you think God of War Ragnarok or did God of War Ragnarok deserve Game of the Year, or did Elden Ring really deserve it?
It came close, but like in this year's game of the uh
Game of the
game of
Year.
the year award, it the Ragnarok.
Honestly, my personal opinion, don't get me wrong, Elden Ring was great, but the story of Ragnarok is crazy, and I don't really understand that much of the story for Elden Ring. But to finish this off, Ragnarok had a better story. Elden Ring had better combat, movement, all the stuff. So for me, it's going to be a tiebreaker. I don't know if I can really choose, but
Yeah.
everyone, this is it for today. That was our that was our third member, and I'm hoping I get the fourth in here soon, Connor, and we'll eventually all do a group one. Goodbye, everybody. Milo, say goodbye.
It's goodbye, my fellow humans.
Yep. And this is it. And this is the end of episode 2 of